Good day, everyone. We are Pator Group, and today we will be presenting our International Business Paper 3, which will be about country evaluation and selection. So, here are our following members, and these are our table of content.
So, the first topic that we are going to talk about is an Airbus. Airbus is a globally recognized European aerospace company with a substantial presence. It boasts a significant revenue of approximately 70 billion in 2019, making it a Fortune Global 500 company known for its reliable and Guinness World Record holding aircraft. Airbus also plays a crucial role in international aviation. Additionally, Airbus contributes to the development of Europe's geographic navigation system, or we know as Galileo, manufactures a significant portion of the world's telecommunication satellites, and more. So, the complex history of Airbus in Europe. It reflects the integration of European aerospace industry post World War II. It began in 1970 as Airbus Industrie GIE in France and then evolving into Airbus SE. In 2000, Airbus merged with the three prominent European firms from France, Germany, and Spain, forming the European Aeronautic, Defense and Space Company, or we know as EADS, which held majority shares in Airbus, also controls subsidiaries like Eurocopter and Arianespace. EADS underwent the significant transformation in 2006 and 2017, acquiring full ownership of Airbus SAS and ultimately become Airbus SE. So next, about the Airbus as presence in China. China held the major market and it is one of the manufacturing location of the Airbus. Airbus established a single ISO final assembly line, or we know as FAL, in Tianjin in 2008. And through the Tianjin Free Trade Zone and China Aviation Industry Corporation, this FAL has grown into a symbol of successful cooperation within the aviation company. Even though in COVID-19, or we know as the 2020 pandemic, Airbus Tianjin still celebrate the delivery of its 500 A320 narrow body aircraft to China Southern Airlines. So next is about the Airbus uncertain future. We know that over the past decade, Airbus has seen significant growth and becoming the world's leading plane manufacturer in 2019. Not only that, the growth had been influenced not only the market expansion but also the challenge faced by its competitor Boeing, including the 737 MAX crisis and trade disputes over subsidies. The 737 MAX crisis, resulting from plane accidents in 2017 to 2018, caused production halts and ground aircraft, leading Boeing to deliver only 345 planes in 2019. While progress has been made on technical issues, the aviation industry, including Airbus, faced formidable challenges in 2020 due to COVID-19 pandemic. International flights dropped by around 80% during the initial pandemic wave, causing significant financial losses. The sector is not expected to fully recover until 2024. Next, about Brexit and Airbus uncertain future. Brexit poses another challenge for Airbus, particularly concerning the manufacturing of airplane wings in the United Kingdom. Trade barriers could disrupt integration between the UK and the EU, potentially necessitating a costly and time consuming relocation of wing manufacturing. Furthermore, Airbus faced competition from China's growing airplane manufacturing industry. China's domestic aviation market is expanding rapidly, and there are indications that China aims to rely on local manufacturers such as Comac to meet its demand for new aircraft.
Location is said to be one of the most important factors for a success of a business. Each location will have its own advantages and disadvantages. And since companies have limited resources, they wouldn't have to consider which location fit their purpose best. So they wouldn't have to keep these factors in mind. The location of sales, production, and administrative and auxiliary services, the sequence for entering different countries, the portion of resources and effort to allocate to each country where they operate. The location of sales of product may be within the same countries or different. This depends on the regulation of those countries. And once the company has established the sale in the foreign market, they might start entering different countries or region. And once they are operating in multiple countries, they will then have to allocate their resources to where they operate carefully, depending on which country need more or might need less resources. Location flexibility is also another crucial part because of condition change. Company must respond to new opportunities and back off from failing one or profitable one. Now on to comparing countries to scanning. Scanning is an extremely helpful technique in which company could use to examine just the right amount of possibility, not too few, not too many. And after scanning, the information that they got can will most likely fit into the four types of question. A yes or no questions, which is basically just a question that need a yes or no answer. A direct statistic. It is a question that just need a statistic that related to the question to be answered. Indirect indicator, which like well, I have an example. Like what are the potential sales for my products? The indirect indicator for this case will be the population size and estimate that is based on the per capita GDP and qualitative assessment. Qualitative assessment is necessary based on the different opinion and indirect indicators. And after the number of choices have been narrowed down, this is where the detailed analysis will start. The manager will have to compare the detail in greater detail. Like for example, they might have to go on to the actual site to examine the place by themselves. Information such as how fit the location is for production or for sales, the cost of the land and supplies that they might need, or if they instead want to outsource this process, they will then have to look for potential contractor that fit them best. But there's also a situation known as escalation of commitment, where a company might use a lot of time and resources into finding alternative, but they will just pick it regardless of their merits.
Opportunity and risk variables. Discern opportunity, risk variable, and how prioritize and relate them when deciding whether and where to expand abroad. Start by identifying unacceptable countries condition, restriction and on foreign country ownership or child labor in hazard road. Eliminating countries with unacceptable condition, companies should then assess opportunity and take risk. Opportunity sales expansion. While companies engage in international business, sales expansion is a primary motivation for IB engagement. Challenge in obtaining country sales figure. Lack of availability of country-specific sales data, especially challenging when introducing a new product. Method for estimating sales potential. Analyzing past sales and data similar or complementary products. Using economics and demographic data for projection. Consideration for product specific data. For luxury product, GDP or capita may be inadequate. Need to focus on number of people with income above certain level. Tailor data to match the target market characteristics. Seek out niche market if the product doesn't appeal to the average customer. Example of niche market strategy. Guarantee a Guatemalan-based Palo Campero identified as area with large Central American population. Enter the United States market by first targeting Los Angeles. Opportunity sale of examining economic and demographic variable. Obsolescence and leapfrogging of product. Consider how emerging economy consumers may leapfrog traditional technologies like landline telephone and adopt newer technologies such as cell phone and smartphone. Demand for necessities versus discretionary. Recognition that the demand for essential items like food can influence the purchase of discretionary goods. High food expenditure in Japan, for instance, impact discretionary spending. Substitution. Beware that consumer may substitute product differently in different countries. For example, change in gasoline and diesel price in India influence car manufacturers. Income inequality. Understand that countries with higher income equality per capita GDP figure may not accurately reflect consumer spending. A small middle class is common in such countries. Cultural factors and taste. Take into account cultural factors that affect product sales, such as dietary restriction like Hinduism in India, but also consider subsegment within culture where demand may differ. Existence of trading blocks. Evaluate the important and regional trading blocks on countries' potential market. Even small countries like Uruguay can have significant opportunities if they are part of trading blocks like Mercosur. Estimate the potential demand while perfect. Projections are not possible. Managers can make reasonable estimates to guide their study and decision-making process. Next, cost consideration. For labor costs remain important for the most companies despite increased automation. Change in labor costs, like rising wage in China, can influence companies to explore other countries. Labor diversity. Companies with specific language or skill may need to choose countries accordingly. Infrastructure. Poor internal infrastructure can increase cost. Companies may need to generate due to unreliable power supply and extra resource transportation, which increase the cost. External connections. International business require cross-national integration involving visit to foreign countries and efficient shipment flow. Geographical distance can impact integration with countries closer to headquarters often being preferred. Countries with fewer trade restrictions and efficient customers process offer advantage. Governor, governmental incentive and disincentive. Government promote foreign investment through lowering taxes, training, loan guarantees, and import duty exemption. Incentive often depend on negotiation between companies and government. Companies with unique assets like technology and global brands have stronger bargaining position.
Natural disaster risk. Catastrophes have existed throughout history. However, as more data of the disaster patterns have been collected, choosing optimal locations is easier than ever. First type of the natural disaster is Mother Nature. Humanity are prone to encounter natural disaster every now and then. These disasters can affect markets, infrastructures, and production. It could really hurt the economy since the price of the insurance will increases while the production line stopped. This means that there are less stocks while the demand increases. This leads to increasing in prices of goods and service, while barely any profits were made. Now some countries or places are unlikely to encounter any natural disaster. These countries are, however, poor, and due to poor housing and lack of medication, many people are resulted in death. Debilitating diseases. World Health Organization has come to the conclusion that most infectious diseases occur from poor nations. The effect of the diseases have an impact to performance of many business. For example, death from diseases could lower the workforce numbers. Competitive risk. Factors affecting companies' competitive risk are compatibility for companies' operations, diversification of locations, following competitors or customers, and heading off competitors. For the first type, which is compatibility for companies' operations, when companies encounter unfamiliar environment to work with, their risk in order to operate their business increases, which is why companies usually prefer to operate in their local area where they are more familiar with, as long as there are sufficient opportunities. MNEs have a lower survival rate than local companies when they operate in foreign countries. This is known as liability or foreignness. US companies often prioritize Canada and the United Kingdom due to similarities in per capita GDP, language, culture, and legal systems. This is also applies to nations where they are located close to each other. This is due to ease of travel and communications among these countries. For example, US television ads are regularly seen in Canadian and to reach Canadian audience, which makes it easier for US firms to do business there. This is known as spillover effects. Second type, which is diversification of locations. Doing business in economically diverse countries could potentially enable companies to smooth their sales and make profits. The business is also protected from currency value changes by locating themselves in a country where the exchange rates are not closely correlated with each other. Due to the growth in many aspects of the product, there is a need to gain more knowledge from multiple companies. This also applies for other countries where companies need to gain more knowledge about the other country where the subsidiaries are located. Third type being following competitors or customers. Crowding a market could prevent competitors from gaining advantages. This means that location of the company depends on their competitors. Company may gain absolute advantage against their competitor by locating near them. When a company follows their competitor, they could gain more inside information of their competitors as they have more contact with their competitors' personnel. Fourth or last one is heading off or avoiding competition. To seek competitive advantage, a company needs to, firstly, be the first to encounter foreign countries, secondly, avoiding country where competition is high, or thirdly, moving quickly into a market. These methods could help the company to build a strong relationship with government, grow quicker in other regions, and increase risk of competitors surpassing them in technology, respectively. For analyzing and relating the opportunity and risk variables. Companies collected data and then prioritized countries for their operations. They formed diverse teams with expertise in various areas like marketing and finance to ensure a well-rounded assessment. To maintain objectivity, team members are assigned data analysis tasks based on their expertise. Preventing bias, they also assign weight to factors like political risk being more important than natural disasters. Tools like grids and matrices assist in this process. Now, what is matrices? As mentioned before, managers usually use matrices to visualize the relationship between opportunities and risk in decision making. They determine which countries to consider by identifying unacceptable factors and choosing relevant indicators. These indicators are weighted to reflect their importances. For example, political risk might be assigned 35% of the weight. Countries are rated on various variables, and the ratings are adjusted by their respective weight to calculate scores. Once all countries are plotted on the matrix, managers must make decisions balancing high risk, high opportunity countries against low risk, low opportunity ones. Considering their risk tolerance and opportunity assessments, this approach provides a structured method for evaluating and comparing countries based on opportunity and risk factors.
Okay, next we have the sources and shortcomings of comparative country information. So, businesses do business research to eliminate uncertainty and assess performance. And managers frequently confront restrictions in acquiring all of the necessary information. And these comparisons that the managers do assist them in making educated selections about which information to prioritize and use in the location selection process. And but through this process, they have two basic problems, which we'll be going into right now, which are inaccuracy and non-comparability. First up is inaccuracy. So governmental resources may limit accurate data collection. Now, what does this mean? Due to limited resources, countries may face constraints in allocating budgets for data collection, acquiring the latest computer hardware and software, and providing training programs. This can impact the quality and availability of data for analysis and decision making purposes. The second problem in inaccuracy is that governments must depend on estimates and revisions. This is because there is a trade off between accuracy and timeliness of data. Initially, estimates are made without the full range of sample returns to ensure timely reporting. However, revisions are then necessary to improve accuracy as more sample information becomes available. And third one, governments may omit or purposely publish misleading information. And this can be done by the government researchers who may publish false or deceptive information with the intention of misleading their superiors, the general public, or foreign companies and institutions. Now, there are more. Respondents may also give false information to data collectors, and this can happen due to mistrust of how the data will be used. Respondents believe that the information they provide could be used against them or invade their privacy. They may be inclined to answer questions falsely. This is particularly true when the questions probe financial details or other sensitive information. Next is that official data may include only legal and reported market activities. This means that the data provided by the government may not include any information about illegal activities such as the drug trade or cash transactions to avoid taxes. And last but not the least, questionable methodology may be used. Inaccuracies in data collection and analysis can lead to significant differences in estimates. Next, we will be getting into non-comparability. Countries do not publish reports at the same time or for the same time periods, which makes it necessary for companies to extrapolate and estimate how countries compare. Additionally, countries have different accounting rules and definitions for items such as family income, literacy, and foreign direct investment or FDI. It's important to note that activities that occur outside the market economy, such as within the home, are not reflected in income figures. These factors contribute to information inaccuracies and problems in comparability. Now, we'll be talking about the external sources of information. And companies rely on various sources of information to make informed location decisions, and the internet is one of its primary source, offering both free and paid information. Marketing and research consulting companies are also valuable sources, as they can provide targeted information based on specific companies or their needs. Other major sources include service companies, government agencies, international organizations, and trade associations. It is important to understand how these sources generate information and assess their past success rates, especially when seeking advice from risk assessment companies. Next, we will be talking about the internally generated data. MNEs often have to gather information themselves by observing keenly and asking questions. This can be done during visits to countries where investigators can assess availability of merchandise, identify the target market, and uncover hidden competition. They may also seek insights from companies already experienced in the country, such as limited brands, like what they did with Apple's managers in China. Now, there was a debate held uh, or found in this article on whether companies should, operate in and send employees to violent areas. And it was described in a pro and con concept. So I'll be sharing you the summary of that right now. So here are the pros. When there is risk, there are usually rewards. And one of the reasons why people agree in sending employees to violent areas is that medical advances has lowered the risk of historical killers. This means diseases like smallpox, tuberculosis, and etc. And there are now medicines for them. So it's a lot easier for people to recover from sickness or diseases. And another reason why companies could send employees to violent areas is that they can easily take precautions before going to that area. Next thing is that they can utilize intelligence reports and the internet to look into the places and discern the risky and possible places to go. And lastly, undergo suitable safety training courses in preparation to go to the place. And in our time now, there are plenty of those in which people can do. Now, as for the cons of their debate, anti-globalization groups target MNEs, personnel, and facilities to force them to leave or pay ransoms. Next, if there is risk of violence, it leads to stress in the employee, which negatively impacts their performance. And then the third point is that kidnapping has a decent probability of happening. Thousands are reported each year. And it's also unethical to put employees in such situations. And there's too high of a risk to put employees in that situation of the likelihood of being kidnapped. So lastly, it may lead to political matters that lead to governmental changes and operation changes, considering that it involves the person's nationality and the country itself might have to step in for that individual.
Okay, so for allocating resources among location, resource allocation across location involves distributing resource wisely, define goals, assess need, and inventory available resources. Created budget and ensures allocation models based on objectives, analyze data, assess risk, and promote collaborations. Implement monitoring system adjust allocation as needed and ensure transparency and accountability. Leverage technologies and prioritize sustainability, comply with laws and regulation, and seek feedback for improvement. Document decision and rationale for auditing. In essence, it's about optimizing the distribution of finances, personnel, and assets to achieve organizational goals while considering local need and complying with legal requirement. Next would be non-comparative location decision. Non-comparative location decision involves selecting a specific site or location based on its merit and sustainability without direct comparison. Key aspects include do site assessment, objective-based decision-making, risk management, long-term perspective, and customization consideration encompass local factor, vehicle compliance, economic incentive, and stakeholder engagement. These decisions are often driven by a single location, unique characteristic, and alignment with organizational goals. They carry a higher degree of risk, emphasizing the need for due diligence. The focus is on the long-term impact and benefit, such as community development and job creation. Non-comparative decision can be sustainable when a preferred location clearly aligns with strategic objective, but careful research and analysis remain essential. So for the last part, in conclusion, country evaluation and selection are pivotal for international expansion. This manifested process involves analyzing economic, political, cultural, and legal factors to identify suitable market. There's no one-size-fits-all approach, as each organization must customize its criteria based on goals and resources. Continuous monitoring and adaptation and crucial due to the dynamic global landscape. Success in this process is paramount for growth, profitability, and risk management in foreign market. In an interconnection world, agility and data-driven decision-making are essential. Embracing this approach position business for sustainable global success. Thank you.